here to the seventh, to the earth rather, to our Gashmistical world, and that is when Moshe Rabbeinu gave us the Torah. It was basically three events: going out of Mitzrayim, giving us the Torah, and building the Mishkan. Then he explained then why Moshe Rabbeinu, what was his advantage over the previous generations? Because he was the seventh. Kol Hashmin Chaviv, the seventh and the most precious. So the Maimon started to talk about the fact that even though the seventh are the most precious, but it doesn't say the most precious become the seventh, but the seventh are the most precious, which means, how do you explain that? Being the seventh is something which on the surface is sort of at random. It's just a random thing. You turn out to be the seventh. You were the seventh person to walk into the house. You were the seventh child to be born in your family. You were the seventh generation from Moshe, from Abraham Avinu. Whoever was born in that generation was the seventh. It was just something that happened to happen. What it means is that when Hashem chose Moshe Rabbeinu because he's the seventh, it was something that came from a place that was higher than even the spiritual calculations and reasons and beyond that. In other words, if we would say that the most precious become the seventh, that would mean that Hashem evaluates and assesses Moshe Rabbeinu's Avodah, and he says that his Avodah is so amazing, and therefore I'm going to make him the seventh. But when we say that he became so great because he just happened to be the seventh, just like happening to be the seventh is something which is not a calculated, logical, intellectual process, so too the fact that he was chosen comes from a place in the spiritual realm, which is from the essence of Hashem. It's higher than any kind of logical process, higher than Chokhmah, even Chokhmah Batzilus. And that's where Hashem chose that this person should be the Shvi, he should be the seventh. After explaining how amazing and how great of a quality it is to be the seventh, the Rebbe says, but let's not forget that you can't be number seven without number one. So we have to remember the Maila of the first generation, which is Avraham Avinu. And what was his Maila? Mainly Mesiras Nefesh. So we're in this chapter here, chapter Gimel 3. Okay, so then the Rebbe explained the difference between Mesiras Nefesh of Avraham Avinu and Mesiras Nefesh of Rabbi Akiva. That Avraham Avinu searched for Mesiras Nefesh, Akiva, and Avraham Avinu just naturally had Mesiras Nefesh. It was like part of the process. He didn't search for Mesiras Nefesh as a way of perfecting his Avodah. After explaining the greatness of Avraham Avinu, we go to the next part. Kol kach godla mailas avodah yam mesiras nefesh shaloi. The Avodah of Avraham Avinu is considered so amazing and so high, ad asher gam Moshe, even Moshe Rabbeinu, masher zocha shenitna Torah al yodei. Moshe had the merit that the Torah was given through him, because he is Shvivi and the seventh is the most precious. But nevertheless, he is the seventh to the first. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, "B'makom gedolim al tamid." Don't stand in the place of gedolim, of people that are greater than you. What this is referring to is, in the Parsha Va'era, Rashi says, Hashem sort of rebuked Moshe. And reason was because, look at the difference between you and Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu, I promised him certain things, and on the surface it looks like he wasn't being fulfilled, but he never complained, and he never sort of raised an argument and say, why aren't you doing this? You told me you're going to do this. And Moshe Rabbeinu, and Hashem told him he's going to take Yidden out of Mitzrayim, he did complain, and he said, Lo Mareis Hashem, why did you make things worse for them? So basically, Hashem was telling Moshe Rabbeinu that the others, especially Avraham Avinu, in a certain way, is greater than you. Look, he didn't complain. I just want to say, by the way, this is not the place to go into it, but Mefarshim explain that the difference between Avraham Avinu and Moshe, why did Moshe complain? Because Avraham Avinu, it was about something personal. Hashem promised him something personal, and about children, about Sarah, and it didn't happen. So he just accepted it. But Moshe Rabbeinu was the shepherd of Klal Yisrael. When he saw the Yidden was suffering, he complained to Hashem, why are the Yidden suffering? But nevertheless, Hashem still said, in that sense, Avraham Avinu is greater than you. So this is to bring out the point that there's a certain quality in the first. And even though the seventh is special, and that makes the seventh qualified to be the one to give the Torah, but let's not forget, how is he the seventh? Because he's number 7 from number 1, which in simple words mean that we get koyach from Avraham Avinu. Moshe Rabbeinu gets koyach from Avraham Avinu to be who he is and to accomplish what he had to accomplish. But this Maila that Moshe Rabbeinu had is something which didn't come through his choice and didn't come through his Avodah. It became because he was the 7th, which means Fartik Arheit. It's how that told him. Fartik Arheit means it came full ready, it came all ready without him making any effort. He was just born that way. He was born with this quality, and he was born with this mission that he's going to be the one to take you out of Golus. He'll be the one to bring the Shekhinah down to planet Earth. Nevertheless, even though this is what it says about Moshe Rabbeinu, it's something which is not limited. That we should say that this is something so out of this world that in truth, everyone could relate to this. Like it says in the Medrash, which is called Tanad Ve'Eliyahu. The reason why the Medrash is called Tanad Ve'Eliyahu because it was said by Eliyahu Hanavi. And it says also in chassidus, Shekol Yisrael, every Yid, Va'afilu Eved, even a slave, even a maid servant, they're considered like the lowest class within the Yidden. Yechelim Lagia Lashras Ruach HaKodesh. They can also merit that the Shekhinah should rest on them and they should have Ruach HaKodesh. Kol echad v'echad b'Yisrael chayiv leimer. In fact, every Yid is obligated to say, Masai Yagiu Maisai L'Maisai Avaisai. When will I merit that my actions should be like the actions of my forefathers, which is Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So on one hand, this is something which is relevant to all of us. Nevertheless, let's not fool ourselves. And we have to know, these words are a little bit not so clear. It's pretty clear what the Rebbe is saying, but the Rebbe doesn't spell it out clearly. The Rebbe is drawing a parallel here between Avraham Avinu and Moshe Rabbeinu, the first and the 7th, to ourselves and to the Rebbe himself. From the Alter Rebbe, which is the first, and the Rebbe, which now became the 7th. And on one hand, just because you have this doesn't mean anything outstanding. Everybody could have it. But nevertheless, if you have this quality, don't sort of let it get to your head that you're somebody special, because the real koyach to do this comes from the first. Through whatever the first did, that paved the way, that opened the path that we can do what we can do. And we, just like Begashmis, being number 1 makes it possible for 7 to be number 7. Beruchnis means that all the Avodah that Avraham Avinu did opened the door and opened all the channels that we should be able to be in number 7.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
So your rabbi is not the first one.
What?
So why your rabbi is not the first one?
Why the Alter Rebbe is not the first one?
The rabbi.
Why he's not the first?
Yes.
So he's saying the reason is because his shlichus is to be the 7th, and the Alter Rebbe's shlichus was to be the first.
Meaning?
Meaning that just like with Avraham Avinu, he was the first one that started bringing the Shekhinah down, and Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the one that brought it down in the most physical, tangible way to the physical world. Same thing with the Alter Rebbe, that he brought things down in a spiritual way and started that process. And in our generation, the Rebbe's Aved is number 7 to bring it down to the most physical, tangible level. But I'll soon explain the difference between the 1 and 7 now and 1 and 7 before. I'll soon explain that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, well, I'll soon go into a little bit more. So the whole milas that we have to know, which means you have to realize that the earlier tzaddikim and the earlier generations, they were so much greater. The whole milas ashvi, the only mila of the 7th is shvi l'rishon, because he's number 7 from the first. As I can durchführen, told you once, when any Rebbe wanted to emphasize something more, they would spell it out in Yiddish, because that was the language people spoke. That his ability is to bring to fruition the avodah of the first. So really, it's the first one that gets the credit. And all I'm doing is bringing to fruition what the first one started. And what was the avodah of Avraham Avinu? Atikra vayikra ela vayakri. Says the Chumash that Avraham Avinu called Hashem's name. So the Gemara says, let's not read it only that he called, but vayakri means he made other people call on Hashem's name. Avraham Avinu brought Hashem's name to the whole world, that tens of thousands of people recognized Hashem. So this is what's so dear and precious about number 7. The one who's number 7 brings the Shekhinah down to the lowest level. Ikar Shekhinah brings down not just the Shekhinah, but the highest level of Shekhinah, the essence of the Shekhinah. So the number 7 has the quality and the advantage that it brings the highest level of Shekhinah into the lowest place in the creation, which is this physical world. And that's the difference between Avraham and Moshe. So basically the point is that Moshe Rabbeinu would give the credit to what he did to Avraham Avinu and say, it's not what I did, really Avraham Avinu did this. He's the one who started it. But through him, I'm the one that brought it down to fruition. But really all I'm doing is I'm just bringing to this is the bringing down to action what Avraham Avinu started. I'll give you an example to this. Every morning in davening, we mention the Akedah. Anyone know the reason? Why do we talk about the Akedah in the morning? What's the reason for it? Now it's on Zoom, you can talk. Anyone know the reason why we every single day read the Akedah?
But Shula is our Akedah, no? I don't know.
What?
Shula is also our Akedah. It's like different levels. I don't know.
Because it's our strength of זה הכוח שלנו מאברהם, מהניסיון שהוא עבר, אז יש לנו את הזכות הזאת, את הכוח שלו.
Right. Let me explain what you're saying, how that's different. On the simple pshat, if you ask anyone the reason, they will tell you that it's a schus. We're going to daven we're going to ask Hashem to fulfill our requests. So we need a schus, we need a merit. And what merit should Hashem do? Shall we say, in the merit of Abraham Avinu, look how amazing he was. He was ready to give up the life of his son for Hashem. Such a great person, he deserves that his children and grandchildren, all his descendants, should receive Hashem's blessing. That's a simple meaning. But the deeper meaning is, and this is basically what Rotem was saying, there's a question here. Why do we say that what Avraham Avinu was so outstanding that every single Jew mentions it every single day in davening for hundreds of thousands of years? He wasn't the only one that did this. There were so many Jews who gave up their lives on Kiddush Hashem. And not only people gave up their lives on Kiddush Hashem, there are people who gave up the lives of their children. So they shouldn't, God forbid, convert to another religion. And we all know with Hanukkah, there was a famous woman whose name was Chana. And it's known as the story of Chana and her 7 sons. She had 7 sons and she told them all to give up their lives, not to give in to Avodah Zarah. So the question is, why do we make such a big deal about Avraham Avinu and the Akedah? There's so many tens of thousands of Jews that gave up their lives. Avraham Avinu almost did it, but he didn't do it at the end. These people actually lost their lives. And not only their own, but also their children. And Avraham Avinu was a Navi. He spoke to Hashem himself. These people were ordinary people. They weren't prophets. They didn't speak to Hashem himself. And yet they gave up their lives and their children's lives. So what is it that we talk so much about Avraham and the Akedah when it happened in so many thousands and tens of thousands of people? So the answer is because he was the first. So what? So he wants to explain, when someone does something the first time, it's like opening a door. It's opening a channel. And the mashal would be like you have a wall and nobody could get through the wall to the other side. And even though everybody tries, and one person comes along who is very strong, and with his hands, he takes a hammer in his hands and he breaks the wall and makes an opening. And now thousands of people go through the wall. Nobody's going to say that they get the credit, because nobody can go through the wall. Look, I'm going through the wall. The reason why you're going through the wall is because somebody broke it and made an opening. That's why you can go through. The same thing is with Avraham Avinu. He was the first one to display such Mesiras Nefesh, give up the life of his son for Hashem, which means he broke anything that could be standing in the way, that would be challenging a Yid from doing that, because it's a very difficult thing to do. Once he did it, now it's so much easier for everybody else to do the same thing. I mentioned it during Hanukkah because we're talking about what's the advantage of the first day of the year, the first day of the month, the first day of a person's wedding, the first day of a person being bar mitzvah or bas mitzvah for the rest of their life. What's always so special about the first? And the answer is the first is what opens the door, and everything else that follows goes easier because the first opened the door, opened the channel, opened the road. Sometimes we say the path. And just to remind you, we told the story then that there was a situation where the Beis Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karei, the one who wrote the Shulchan Aruch, was struggling to understand something in Gemara. Obviously, he was such a great Torah giant that if he was struggling, it was something extremely, extremely deep. Otherwise, he wouldn't be struggling. He was a Torah giant. He was brilliant. He was a tzaddik. He knew so much Torah. So obviously, in Torah, this was something very, very deep, and he was struggling to understand it. And I think it says for a few days. And finally, he got to understand it, felt much better. And then he was in shul, and there was somebody giving a shir to other people. This person was an ordinary Torah scholar, nowhere near the level of Rabbi Yosef Karei. And he hears people asking him this question, and he thought for a second, and he gave an answer. And the answer was the answer that he struggled for days till he got to that answer. So he's in shock. He's so much more intelligent than that person. He knows so much more Torah than that person. And him, it took a few days to figure it out. And that person took a few seconds to figure it out. That means there's something very wrong with me. And he went to the Arizal to ask him why this happened. And the Arizal said, you're making a mistake. It's not because there's something wrong, but because this is something in Torah that was never brought down into this world yet. You were the first one to reveal it. Once it's revealed, now everyone has access to it. So therefore, once the first one does it, it's easier for everybody else. So I guess that's what you meant, Rotem, when you said that that's our koyach. It's not only a schus, it's also a koyach. That gives us the koyach to have the serious nefesh, like Avraham Avinu. So that's the same thing with Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham Avinu. That Moshe Rabbeinu was the Shvi. He took us out of Mitzrayim. He brought the Torah down. He brought the Shekhinah down to this world. But he attributed everything to Avraham Avinu's Mesiras Nefesh. As a result of that, he opened the door. And once he opened the door, the Shekhinah came down from the first to the second to the third, and eventually that's to this physical world.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why we say it in the beginning? What's the reason?
Why do we say the beginning?
Yeah, of Shacharit.
Well, again, these two reasons. One reason is because we're going to daven. So before we start, we mention a schus. Even in Shmoneh Esrei, we do the same thing. In Shmoneh Esrei, we ask for different things. But before we start, we say, Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. We want Hashem to win him to hear the schus of our Avos, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And even according to what we said now, we're going to daven. And davening is a time where we work on ourselves, to elevate ourselves, to refine ourselves, to become stronger. So we say to ourselves, look at Avraham Avinu. He had Mesiras Nefesh. Look what he was ready to do. So he was ready to do that. How much more so I should be ready to do the little things that I need to do. You got it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Now comes the next paragraph. So up until now, we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu and Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu is the first, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the seventh. These words were the historic words that give Chassidim life and have inspired Chassidim all the years from when the Rebbe said it 72 years ago, 71 years ago. This is being demanded of us, every single one of us, because we are in the seventh generation. And the seventh are the most precious. So we're the seventh from the Alter Rebbe's generation. Because the Frierdiker Rebbe was the sixth Rebbe. So that generation was the sixth generation. When the Frierdiker Rebbe was nostalgic and the Rebbe became the new Rebbe, this became now the seventh generation, and the Rebbe became the seventh Rebbe. Although the fact that we are the seventh is lo yapi b'chiriyah saying we didn't choose that. Lo yadeh saying we didn't do any kind of aveda to merit that. And in many ways, it's not even kafir to name. We don't even want it. What does that mean? We don't want it. We didn't want it. Simple. How did we become the seventh? Because the Frierdiker Rebbe was nostalgic. That's something which nobody wanted. So this means to make it clear that the fact that we're the seventh is something which was done totally by Hashem. It's not our Aveda. We had no hand in this. Hashem made us to become the seventh generation.
Can I ask something?
Yes?
So what was in the middle of Moshe Rabbeinu and Alter Rebbe?
I'm getting there soon. Very, very good. That's exactly what I was going to explain soon. Call Mokim, nevertheless, even though we didn't work for it, but we are the seventh. Nimtzoyim Nachnu, we're now found the Ikvus of the Mashiach at the end of Godus, the heels of Mashiach. And not only that, but B'siyuma Dikvus, at the end of the end. And the Avodah now is Ligmer Hamshachas Ashchina. We are the ones that we have to bring down the Shechina to this world. We have to bring down the highest level of Shechina in this physical world, which is obviously the union of Mashiach. So Rotem is asking the obvious question. We just said that this was already accomplished by Moshe Rabbeinu, so why do we have to do it again? Avraham Avinu brought the Shechina down from the 7th to the 6th. Yitzchak from the 6th to the 5th. Yaakov from the 5th to the 4th. Eventually Moshe Rabbeinu from this first heaven to the earth. So it was already done. Why are we starting all over again?
I didn't ask this. Well, I asked something else.
What did you ask?
I can.
I bring you very far because I don't even see you.
And I asked, so
Yeah.
it was the first one about Avinu, then Moshe. And then between Moshe and Alter Rebbe, I know that we need to do it all over the world, right?
Once Moshe Rabbeinu did it, it remained down here. So your question is, why are we starting all over again with the Alter Rebbe? That's not your question. What happened in the middle? Did it go back?
Yeah, in the middle. Yeah, in the
Why?
middle.
Why are you asking a question? Because if we started again from the Alter Rebbe, that means somewhere in the middle it went back to Shemayim.
Yeah.
So the answer is no. Once Moshe Rabbeinu brought it down here to earth, it stayed here on earth, and we do Torah and mitzvahs and so on. Yes, it's not as revealed as it used to be, but still the Shekhinah is here in this world. So what changed in the times of the Alter Rebbe? And what happened in the middle? Okay, so that's your question. So the answer is as follows. If the Shekhinah was already brought down into the world when the Torah was given, and the Shekhinah was going to be brought down in the world when Mashiach comes, how come there's such a difference? In the times of Mashiach, there won't be any wars, there won't be any more gullus, there'll be a Beis Mikdash that'll last forever, there won't be any fighting, there won't be any Yetzer Hara, there won't be anything of illness and opposite of death. And when the Shekhinah came down after the Torah was given, there was still gullus, there was still wars, there was still the Yetzer Hara, there was still all sorts of things. If the Shekhinah came down, if we say when Mashiach comes, the Shekhinah then comes down, everything will be good. So how come everything wasn't good then? What's the difference? Understand my question? We said this many times when we learn about Mashiach and Geula, that even though when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a long list of good things that are going to happen, wonderful things that are going to happen. There won't be any wars, there won't be a Yetzer Hara, there won't be any jealousy, there won't be any competition, there won't be any poverty, there won't be any Averis. It'll be just loving Hashem and doing mitzvahs. All the nations will be getting along. Remember, we said that this long list of hundreds of things that are going to change is because of one single change. What's the one single change? Please. Somebody, what's the one single change that's going to make all these changes?
It's forever.
Right, but what's going to make that change forever?
Mashiach.
Right, but what's Mashiach going to do? One thing is going to change, and that change brings all the other changes. What's that one change?
We see Elokut.
Right, Elokus will be revealed in this world. Once Elokus is revealed in this world, then everything is positive, nothing more negative. Not begashmis, not beruchnis. But if that's the case, once the Torah was given, the Shekhinah was also brought down to this world and was revealed through Matan Torah. So why didn't it all happen then? What's the difference? So obviously, it's very clear, and that's the way it's explained in chassidus and in Kabbalah, that the level of Shekhinah that was revealed in the times of Matan Torah, this is not the same level that will be revealed when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, it'll be a much, much higher level. To say this in the language of Kabbalah, it says that when the Torah was given, yes, a very high level of godliness was revealed, but that's called chitzonius atik. It's the external part of atik. When Mashiach will come, what's going to be revealed is pnimius atik, the internal part of atik. That means when Mashiach comes, will be a certain light of Hashem revealed that was never revealed before, even when the Torah was given. So when we say that it's going through the seven heavens, it's not that we're going back to what happened before. It means this new light of Mashiach that's brought down through learning chassidus. So the first generation, which is the Alter Rebbe's generation, that new light came down from the seventh heaven to the sixth. The second generation, the Mittel Rebbe, the light came down from the sixth to the fifth. What are we talking about? The new light, the light that's going to shine, which is from a higher level, and that'll be here in this world. In the seventh generation, through the seventh generation, that light is going to be drawn down to the physical world. And what is it going to happen? Geula, Beis Hamikdash, Mashiach, all the things that we're talking about. So what's been happening in between was we were constantly making the world more and more ready for this new light. And once the world became ready, it started to descend, it started to come down. And it came down first in the Alter Rebbe's generation, one level, then the Mittel Rebbe's generation, the second level, and in the Rebbe's generation, the final level. Now you understand it better.
Did they know when they came to Eretz Israel? Did they know it's not the end?
Did the Yidden at that time know that this Geula is not complete? I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure. The Nevi'im, those prophets, they definitely knew. But whether the Yidden at the time knew that this is not permanent, that I don't know. But it's not that all the time in the middle, nothing was happening. All the time in the middle, the world was being prepared for this higher level of Elokus, which is Pnimius of Atik, which is the deepest level of Keser, that should be revealed. And it started to descend in the generation of the Alter Rebbe.
And we will bring Malchut here?
Right, but we're talking about Malchus is in general is what's revealed in this physical world, but naturally, when Mashiach comes, everything, the Malchus and all the spheres will be on a much higher level, because the source of it will be revealed. The source of the source, the highest source of all the spheres will be revealed. And where is that from? From the most inner, deepest level of Keser, of the crown of Hashem, which is higher than Atzilus and higher than Chochmah and higher than anything that was ever here before. So the Rebbe is telling us that this is our Avodah. And basically, this is where the Rebbe made it clear what's the mission of our generation, that we are the seventh. Whoever's in the generation has a very big merit. We don't know why. I can't say I merited because something I did. I was just born in this generation. Whoever is here now, Hashem arranged that they should be born in this generation. And we have this chus that we are the ones that are going to have a part in bringing the Shekhinah down to earth, which means Mashiach and Geula and everything that goes along with it. Is it clear?
Rabbi,
Yeah.
What's the difference between when we say when we make mitzvah and we say there is a God and there is God's Shekhinah, then between Shekhinah that we should bring to the world, like.
So in general, the mere fact that we do a mitzvah and bring down the Shekhinah, but let's say the person who does the mitzvah doesn't feel anything, doesn't feel any kind of sensation, doesn't see anything with his eyes, doesn't hear any voices. We believe in everything it says in the Torah, but it's not like what I feel when I do gashmistic things. Like when I eat food, I feel the difference. I feel the taste. I feel that I'm no longer hungry. When we do things with ruchnius, even though it's being drawn down, but it's still concealed, it's still hidden. And that's why we don't feel that this is what happened. Tzaddikim are very different. They feel, they see the difference. I once told the story. There was a great Hasidic Rebbe. His name was Rabbi Yisrael of Rizhin. And he was a child learning in class as a young child. And the teacher was teaching a halacha. What happens if you get lost in the forest and you can't remember what day in the week it is? You don't know if it's Tuesday, Wednesday. You get confused and you don't know what day in the week it is. So what's the problem? For a person who gets lost and doesn't know what day in the week, it makes no big difference. For a Yid, it's a huge difference. He doesn't know when it's Shabbos. So the halacha is that every single day, he should not do things you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. He's only allowed to do those things that he needs for survival. And therefore, he's allowed to do it even on Shabbos. But otherwise, he should avoid doing anything that you don't have to do, because maybe today is Shabbos. So the Gemara says, in that case, he'll be every single day living as if it's Shabbos 7 days a week. But Hashem wanted that one day in the week should be different than all the other days. So even this person has to create sort of his own Shabbos, which means one day of the 7 should be different than all the others, and that should be his personal Shabbos until he gets out of the forest. You follow?
Yes, thank you, Rabbi.
But then there's a question, which day should it be? One opinion says, as soon as he realizes he's lost, he should start counting. Today's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the 7th day will be Shabbos. There's another opinion that says, no, the other way. As soon as he realizes, he should say, okay, tonight is going to be Shabbos, and then after that, it'll be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Why are there two opinions? One opinion says we go the way the world was created, and when Hashem created the world, Sunday was first. The other opinion is we go according to Adam Arishon. What was the first day in the week in Adam Arishon's life? When was he born? Which day in the week was he created?
On Shabbos, Friday.
He was created Friday. So the first day of his week was Shabbos. So the other opinion says we count Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, we start with Shabbos. So this little boy picks up his hand and he said, what do you mean you don't know if it's Shabbos or not Shabbos? You can just look up to the sky, you can tell if it's Shabbos or it's not Shabbos. What does that mean? It means he saw, as a little child, because he was a tzaddik, he saw a certain radiance, a certain shine in the world on Shabbos, which he didn't see during the week. So he couldn't understand. How could you be confused? It's like saying, I went outside and I'm confused. Is it day or night? How could you be confused? If the sun is shining, it's day. If the sun is not shining, it's night. So he saw a spiritual light shining. But most people that I know, that I met, don't see any lights shining when they're making brachas, when they're doing mitzvahs. We know about it, but we don't see it and feel it. So it means even though we draw down Hashem's light, but it's still concealed. And then there are many levels and how revealed, more revealed. So I guess the ultimate, the highest level of how it will be revealed will be when Mashiach comes. That's what it means.
I have a question. We are we're not 7th generation.
What's that?
We're not the 6th generation.
We're the 7th generation.
It's not including the years, thousands.
Everything depends. There's some times where you go by years. every 100 years, every 50 years. But let's say if a person talks about someone and says, I'm the fourth generation born here in Yerushalayim. How do you measure generation?
So
Just
we
by
go.
father, son, right, by the parents. So when you talk about the Rebbes, about the generations regarding, let's say, the Torah, it goes by Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu lived 175 years. Yitzchak lived 180 years. Yaakov lived much less. But still, everyone is a generation. The leader makes it into that generation. 7 leaders and 7 generations. So the same thing now. What makes us the 7th generation is the generation of the 7th Nasi.
And we know it's the last time.
Yes, that's what the Rebbe says. This is the generation that we are going to bring the Shekhinah down to earth.
Okay.
Ultimate.
Okay.
Rodham already is waiting.
Okay. Yeah.
To be over.
So we're gonna stop here, and Emir Hashem Monday again. I'm hoping to make it in. Hopefully there won't be any snow or ice on the floor, and I hope that we will. When we do Monday, we're gonna start from Ois Vav. Ois Vav. Your books, I think it's page 65.
He knew that.
What?
What are we doing in this day? Learning?
On your shvat? I'll talk about it on Monday, Mirza Hashem. Okay, all the best. Have a great day. And a good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos.
Mashiach now.
Mashiach now. Again.